This month on In the Life.
1, 2, 3.
My mom wrote this song, and she had a verse in there about me. Ah, child, you look a lot like me, but you're stronger and faster and taller, I see. I hope the world is ready for you. I think you multiply that by like 10, and then you have to shine.
The reason that I made the film was to be able to imagine a gay man holding a newborn infant.
All this and more on America's gay and lesbian news magazine, In the Life. In the Life is funded in part by the H. Van Ameringen Foundation. Additional support provided by the Ford Foundation, the Pride Foundation, the Ted Snowden Foundation, Michael A. Lepin, and these funders. And the annual support of In the Life members like you. Good evening and welcome to In the Life. I'm Rosie O'Donnell and I'm excited to host this evening's program featuring the diverse and complex world of the family. Kelly and I are constantly reminded as we raise our 2 sons and 2 daughters that the joys, challenges, and frustrations of family life are universal. And this is underscored by each of the stories you will see tonight. I believe that all families, regardless of the sexual orientation of the parents or of the children, are far more alike than they are different.
Family to me is love. Love makes a family, regardless what is your relationship with each individual. It's just about love. It's just about caring for each other.
What does family mean? It means a lot of trouble sometimes. It means who you are.
Family is something that I choose. I pick them one by one, just like I would go out into the garden and pick a bouquet of flowers. I don't want the flowers to be all roses, and I don't want them to be all red.
Somehow the world has, which at one point seemed broken, or into which I didn't seem to fit, has, through this miracle of love, become reordered a little bit, and where we all seem to fit just right.
Toshi Reagon has been a force of nature on the music scene for years. She shared the stage with the likes of Pete Seeger, Ani DeFranco, and Lenny Kravitz. Her mother, Bernice Johnson Reagon, founded the groundbreaking group Sweet Honey in the Rock. It's said that Toshi's music has the power to make you tell the truth. This year, she celebrates her music and her family with a series of birthday concerts at Joe's Pub in Manhattan. But Toshi's story starts deep in the heart of Brooklyn.
What is really important is to share information with each other and to teach each other to continuously pass down to other generations what you know. My mom passed it on to me, and I pass that around to everybody. You know, I don't care what color or sexuality or race, or I don't care male or female. I try to share it with everybody. My mom has always had a singing group. I remember different rehearsals with people who she sang with during the civil rights movement. My dad would come through sometimes, and I never really lived with my dad, so it was my mom. And after we moved to D.C., she started Sweet Honey in the Rock.
We are broken, tossed and driven. We are tossed and driven on the restless sea of time. And sometimes you will sing the same note as her, And sometimes I will sing the same note as her, but that doesn't matter.
Okay.
It's just like you get on that zone and you just don't get off.
Okay.
I feel better, so much better since
It's been a pleasure to walk in the world with her. I didn't get any free passes creatively because I was her daughter, like at all. I've had to be a good artist and a good musician and a good producer and a good everything to stand next to her.
I feel better, so much better since I laid down. Burden down, Lord, burden down, Lord.
On Burden Down, everybody sing with me instead of doing the answer.
Since I laid down, burden down.
I think Toshi's birthday gigs absolutely are a family event. I'm sure there are plenty of people for whom that's an annual event who we've never met, right? I mean, I think there are a lot of people who keep that gig in their pocket, right, to get through the week or month or year.
It's her birthday, but the thing I think that she's celebrating, I don't think she's ever actually said this to me, but I always feel like what she's celebrating is the relationships that she can maintain with people.
We have a very big, beautiful family, and we choose who our family is. As queer people, we have to make family that way. And I think a lot of people would be happy to tell us we have no family, and a lot of people who are supposedly our family are quick to tell us they're not. Didn't you see it for your birthday? Okay, I have to see it. Yes, yeah, that's what she saw for her birthday. That's funny.
My partner, Bob, has always been one of my favorite people. And my daughter, Tashawn, is spectacular.
They don't have this stupid goat.
It's cool. I never had any interest in having kids. I've always considered it a gift from my brother that he said to me, I don't think I can do this. Will you please take her? He's gonna be playing Tuesday night. I get to be one of her moms. And she has another mom, Valerie, who's my ex. We have been able to involve a lot of people raising Tashawn and being there for her. And so my partner, Bob, is one of Tashawn's favorite people.
I can't tell you who Toshi and I will be to each other in 10 years' time, but if you're gonna make a commitment to be in a child's life, that's a permanent relationship. So my relationship with Tashawn, I think it's crucial that I see that as a long-term commitment.
My mom wrote this song, and she had a verse in there about me. Ah, child, you look a lot like me, but you're stronger and faster and taller, I see. I hope the world is ready for you. I think you multiply that by like 10, and then you have Tashawn. Is this the end of us sharing a sandwich? It's the end, right?
Maybe.
I will take
Music is at my core.
no more.
The music and community and family are all like very, very close to each other.
Where I am.
How's the voice sounding to you?
No more looking for.
You take me at the house?
Okay.
And then I won't lie to you. I formed my band, Big Lovely, in '96.
Could be louder.
And it's gotten to the point where I can identify people who I'm like, okay, that's my family, even though I don't know who they are. Like, I can just tell the kind of work they're doing and that they're in the same tribe as me.
We always make music in the moment. It's not the last gig or the next gig, or the tunes are played now. Everything happens now, you know. And then when you look around the stage, you know, and then Toshi gives us the room to inspire each other in the moment.
We're all caught up in our own little worlds, and it's always really nice when we get to come together and share this one. So it's definitely a family, you know.
Then I believe 22 hours in a day. No, not 2 or 3. Then I believe.
Her songs come from some deep place.
it's some place where our foremothers were. I don't know. It just comes from all kinds of, it's kind of very raw.
I hear the thunder crashing, the river roll, with nothing left at all, at all. No swift recover, no more deny. No justice, just mean until we die, we die, we die, we die. I get to know my songs as I play them live, and I do shows. And so right now, this song is in the womb. It's not. I don't know what it is yet. And then I'll start playing it, and it takes me sometimes a year or two to know what I'm talking about.
Dave Marsh, he's good, but it's not.
The thing I like about working with Tim is sometimes the way I work, where I will walk into the studio and just be like, I'm doing a song, and not have a song written at all. I just feel like I need to record. I find my first ideas about songs are really kind of good and solid ideas, and so I try to get them on tape as soon as I can. The most important thing is to be open to hear all of the ideas come into your brain, and then to be willing to take the time to write things down or put them down.
That sounds good.
Yeah, I was like, sounds really good, right?
Let me listen some more.
Yeah. You were like, what? It's so good. I gotta say what? Okay, good.
The thunder crashing, the river roll, with nothing left at all, No swift recover, no more deny. No justice, just mean until we die. The thunder crashing, the river roll, with nothing left at all, No swift recover. This is really, really a great thrill and an honor and a blessing to come together with you all once a year and check in with myself musically. So I use my birthday as an excuse to hang out with y'all in a certain particular kind of intimate way. It's the first time we ever played these songs, too, in front of no people, so it's all about you. It's so confusing when you're at a nightclub. What should you do? I mean, you at a club, you paid your money, you dressed nice, you couldn't get a seat, you're standing up, you still gotta buy a drink, you with your girlfriend, you don't even know this lady who you're going to see. Some of you in there go, just went right now, that's a lady? This will be the last time. This will be the last time I will take no more. No more wandering where I am. No more looking for a place to be. I've liked that idea where you make great work together and you pass something down to the ones who are coming up after you, and you think about the ones who are going to come that you're never even going to meet, and you leave something for them. I love that idea, and that's what I think I should be doing. And I see you. Oh, I see you. Oh, baby, I see you. Yeah.
was all this hubbub in the room. There were nurses and midwives and people coming in and out and making sure everything's okay. But I didn't hear a thing. It felt like I was in this little bubble, that I was just like staring at this little baby girl who was already they're so amazingly alert the first couple hours after they're born. But she was just so alert and just kind of staring right back at me.
His eyes were open, which I didn't expect, and he kind of looked overcooked, actually, because he was so animated, and I just remember thinking, wow, this is my son.
The foster mom that she was with, I remember it clearly, had her dressed in this very, very frilly polyester pink dress, loads and loads of ruffles. And the poor baby was sweating from it, and she had a rash because it was so hot, and they put her in my arms, and I just melted. I absolutely melted, and I held her, and it was like, oh, this is our daughter.
All marriages begin with the hope for permanent union. But gay or straight, not all families end up staying together. In the Life looks at one family, now torn apart, with 2 moms and 2 states battling over the future of one little girl. This is a personal story, but it's also a legal case with broad political and social ramifications.
Isabella, oh, there's my little bunny. They're my little Easter bunny.
It never entered my mind that I wouldn't be considered a parent to my daughter. It's just unfathomable that a child born to 2 parents can be denied one parent.
The story of Janet Jenkins and Lisa Miller begins in Virginia in 1997.
We met in Northern Virginia through a mutual friend. I was actually just coming out of a 12-year relationship. I had told her that, well, I'm going to be 10 years by myself before I even consider getting in another relationship. Lisa had been married, and she was actually very religious growing up. And she actually left her husband for a woman, had been in other relationships before she met me. We fell in love, started a life together. It was a whirlwind romance. We had so many things in common, and children was like the core. I really saw being with Lisa as a chance at my having children.
When they started dating, we met Lisa right away, and Lisa moved in with Janet. They were so sure that they were soulmates and that they were going to be together forever, and they were going to have a family.
Soon after they got together, they legally changed their names to Miller Jenkins.
We knew that we wanted every legal protection that we could get, especially having a family and getting that legal recognition in case anything happened to one of us.
As Lisa and Janet were planning their future, Vermont passed the Civil Union Bill in 2000. For the first time in American history, same-sex couples could have civil unions, a legal recognition of their partnerships. Janet and Lisa traveled to Vermont for a civil union ceremony.
We set the date for December 19th, 2000. We even had rings that were Roman numerals of the date. We had our vows. They're beautiful, lifelong, very love-filled, commitment.
After Lisa had 2 surgeries and 3 donor inseminations, she became pregnant.
When Lisa was pregnant, it was like heaven on earth. It was unreal. I just had that grin from ear to ear the whole time. It was like a dream come true.
Their daughter was born in April 2002.
Oh, the birth was awesome. Of course, I was right there. I got to watch my daughter's head crown and then just the whole experience.
Along came Isabella. I watched her be born. I have 4 children and slept through all 4. I'd never seen a live birth. And to have it be my granddaughter.
And my son-in-law and I sat out in the waiting room, discussed ball games and all this good stuff until such time they came out and told us she was born.
And they brought Isabella back to us, and just a beautiful baby. And they gave her my name, Isabella Ruth, which was a surprise. And Lisa and Janet were very happy.
Now we had the legal base. And we also did a lot of research to find out, okay, why we're in Virginia, how does the civil union law protect us as a couple? Well, we had to be Vermont residents. As long as we were Vermont residents, I was told I wouldn't need to adopt my children because they were born within the civil union. So our next plan was, okay, we need to move.
Vermont protects the rights of the non-biological parent in a civil union. So Janet and Lisa moved to Vermont with the 4-month-old Isabella.
We didn't want them to move away. But they wanted to move to Vermont to protect Janet because if anything happened to Lisa, you know, if she died or something happened to her, Janet didn't have any rights in Virginia. And up in Vermont, they were a family, and they could have family insurance, and Janet was an equal parent.
Lisa breastfed Isabella, and both women bonded to the baby.
I mean, just always had her on, touching my body somehow, you know, in my arms, cuddled up in my neck. You know, I'm just one of those kind of, you know, grab her, and, you know, I was mama, and Lisa was mommy.
Singing.
Oh, is my girl singing?
You singing and dancing?
Oh, she's sweet.
Dad just ate.
Uh-huh.
Oh, Isabella? Oh, my. What a great little girl.
Hi there, Isabella. Isabella.
It was just a neat thing to have a little baby around. Ruth and I just had a ball buying stuff for her and taking things to her and
Come on.
anything we could do to make her happy because it made us happy.
Look at Mama. It's your birthday.
What you got, Isabella? Bring the mama.
Soon after Isabella's first birthday, Lisa and Janet discussed having a second child.
My reaction was, I don't know if I can share another child with Isabella. I just didn't think I could. I couldn't fathom loving another child as much as I loved Isabella. But then we talked about it, and we decided that, okay, we're gonna do this, and we were successful the first try.
The second pregnancy lasted only a month, but it changed everything.
I think we were floating around the house for about a month, and then she started bleeding, and there was a miscarriage, and that's when everything changed. That's when, like, this black cloud just came over her, came over me. It was just a very subtle, silent dying of the relationship. I was telling her, in her, I saw maybe a sliding back into even more unhealthy reaction to the miscarriage. And it was 2 days later she told me she was leaving me. She contacted her brother that she had not spoken to in 6 years. She said she was taking Isabella. She said that I could see her as much as I wanted, and I was in shock.
Lisa moved back to Virginia with the baby, returning to the state she and Janet had fled before. In November 2003, Lisa filed to dissolve their civil union in the Vermont Family Court. Recently, In the Life requested an interview with Lisa, but she declined.
Vermont treats two women who have been united in a civil union and have a child in the same way that another state would treat a man and a woman that have a child. And so they basically were handling it just like a traditional divorce. They're going to give Janet some rights, some visitation, give Lisa some, try to make things equitable.
This is an agreement that you and Janet entered into?
Correct. Isabella was to live with me in Virginia full-time. I was to have legal custody and sole custody, physical custody, and she was to continue to pay child support.
She meaning Janet?
She meaning Janet. We agreed on liberal visitation. She could come whenever she wanted.
The hearing became contentious. Lisa alleged that Janet had sometimes abused her by restraining her, pulling her arm, a claim that Janet vehemently denied. But at the same time, Lisa also stated that she wanted Janet to play a big part in Isabella's life.
I would like to see Janet spend as much time as she can with Isabella. I would like to see her see Isabella as much as possible because I do think that's in her best interest.
In practice, however, it became very difficult for Janet to see Isabella.
I was trying to see my daughter every weekend because I worked Monday through Friday in Vermont, but I could fly down Friday after work and I could have as much quality time with Isabella as I could get. The challenge I was having was I would get down there and Lisa would say, Isabella's at a birthday party. So I've gone to all this to get down there, and I either had no time with my daughter or I had very little time.
Despite the breakup, Janet's parents continued to see Isabella in Virginia.
We were in touch with both Janet and Lisa, and we told them right from the beginning when they split up that we weren't going to get involved, we were not going to take sides. And we were able to spend many hours with Isabella, and it worked very well.
The Vermont Family Court, in a temporary order, granted Janet shared visitation with Isabella in June 2004. But within a month of Vermont's decision, Lisa went to a Virginia court and filed a brand new custody suit. She claimed that as the biological mother, she was the sole parent.
It should be probably fairly evident why that's a problem, because, you know, you can imagine that this could, whether it involved a gay or lesbian couple or not, what one court in one state decides about custody might be very different than another state applying its own laws. And that's precisely why we don't allow this type of forum shopping. And that's what this is. Lisa picked Vermont. She went to court up there. She got the case going. She waited 6, 7, 8 months. She got a decision. She didn't like the decision. She said, hey, I'm not putting up with this. I'm snatching the kid and running to Virginia, and I'm going to get a different decision down there. And if I like that one better, I'll take it.
Virginia took Lisa's case, prompted by a new state law banning same-sex unions.
Well, I think it will too.
Virginia Delegate Dick Black, a Christian conservative, was a co-author of the new law, known as the Affirmation of Marriage Act.
The Marriage Affirmation Act simply says that Virginia will not permit same-sex marriage and will not permit any of the marriage lookalikes, the domestic partnerships, the civil unions, which really are marriages under a different name. And it also says that we will not recognize similar arrangements from any other state.
On the very day that the Marriage Affirmation Act went into effect, Lisa and her lawyers filed suit in Virginia seeking an entirely new custody determination from a Virginia judge. And that set us on a road for parallel legal proceedings.
Lisa and Janet's private conflict became a media battleground. At that point, Lisa publicly stated that she was no longer a lesbian and sought conservative support.
Back at the book segment tonight, a nasty court case involving custody of a 3-year-old. Joining us now from D.C. is Lisa Miller. Are you still a lesbian, involved in lesbian relationships?
No, sir, I am not. I am a Christian.
Okay, so you have now renounced homosexuality?
Yes, I have for almost 2 years now.
Okay,
I left the relationship because I am a Christian.
All right, that's interesting. Well, there are Christian homosexuals. I just want to make that quite clear.
I spoke with Ms. Miller. She has gotten out of the homosexual lifestyle, as many people do, and she has had a religious awakening and wants to totally abandon her former lifestyle.
The legal and political battle over same-sex marriage. Hi, I'm Matt Staver, President and General Counsel of Liberty Counsel. On today's
The Liberty Counsel, a legal arm of Jerry Falwell's ministry, took on Lisa's case.
The reason why we believed that this case was important and had national implications is because it provided a brand new twist to a Vermont civil union in the entire same-sex marriage battle. If in fact Vermont, as an example, could set up a same-sex marriage union policy and have it applicable to all the other states, then what would prevent Utah from setting up a polygamous marriage policy and have polygamy through all the other 49 states?
During the Virginia hearing in August 2004, Judge John Prosser read the Affirmation of Marriage Act into the record. He then recognized Lisa, the biological mother of Isabella, as the sole parent.
He read me the Marriage Affirmation Act in open court. He said, "Mr. Pass, this is not Vermont, this is Virginia." And he proceeded to read the law word for word. And then he gave me the line about, oh, you know, your client is no more than a friend of Lisa's, and friends don't get custody rights to our children, and therefore Janet would be denied all rights of any kind to Isabella. And so now we have Vermont going one way, saying Janet is the mother of this child and has legal rights to this child, and we have Lisa going the other way, or Virginia going the other way, saying no, Janet has absolutely no rights.
It never entered my mind that I wouldn't be considered a parent to my daughter. Lisa and I left the state of Virginia because of all the prejudice. I mean, we were fleeing Virginia to Vermont because of all the rights that Vermont afforded us as a family, all those protections. And now, you know, where I'm at, you know, you fast forward to where I'm living now, you know, Lisa fled back to use those prejudices to sever my parental rights and my daughter's right to her other parent.
Pat and Terry, that's the thing that has so many conservatives concerned.
The hot-button issue underlying Virginia's decision is same-sex marriage.
But ladies and gentlemen, it's just one more example of an attempt to undermine the traditional marriage. As that one gentleman said, same-sex marriage is an oxymoron. I mean, marriage is for the upbringing and nurture of children, the joining together of a man and a woman.
What really is the basis of homosexual marriage? What's the basis of same-sex marriage? Is it love? Well, you know, I love my sister, but that's not a basis for marriage. Is it simply certain types of sex acts?
I think the political agenda, by and large, with regards to the movement, is a radical redefinition of family and a radical elimination of sex and gender. As bizarre as that sounds, how can you eliminate male and female? But that is a political agenda, I believe, of the same-sex marriage movement.
The gay agenda is to live the American dream. It's to have your dog and your kids and to be married and to have the same rights and responsibilities that everybody else is, and to, you know, maybe get the laundry done before you collapse at 10 p.m. at night because the kids have run you ragged all day. I mean, that's the dreaded gay agenda.
Back in Vermont, Lisa was held in contempt of court for refusing to honor the visitation order.
Lisa is very, very concerned about her daughter. First, she's concerned that Miss Jenkins is involved in more of an activist, pro-homosexual, pro-lesbian, pro-gay lifestyle and would involve this child as a political ping-pong ball, so to speak, in a greater political event.
The battle continues between the two states. Lisa's lawyers are appealing the Vermont court decision, and Janet's lawyers are appealing the Virginia court decision. Since then, Lisa has not allowed Janet to see Isabella.
The last time I saw Isabella was October 2004, and it was extremely hard for me. I hadn't seen her for 4 months. And believe me, I had tried. I had showed up at the courthouse. I had showed up at the sheriff's office. They had told me they could escort me to the door and do the parent-child exchange. And then I got down there, and Lisa wasn't there, and it was just a nightmare. So I didn't get to see her. And finally, she agreed to let me see her in October. It was great. It was like when I showed up at the door to pick her up, she just jumped into my arms, grabbed onto me with all she was worth, like she had just seen me 2 days before.
You know, Janet's determination in this case it's admirable in a number of ways, but it's not surprising at all. This is her daughter, and what would you be willing to do to be able to love and care and raise your child? What could be more awful, I think, than to have somebody take your child from you? Janet cut Isabella's umbilical cord. She was in the hospital with her, and she was there with her every day after that until the day that Lisa took her away.
Out of the blue, and I have to say it was out of the blue, I got a note from Lisa saying that she didn't want us to have any more contact of any kind with Isabella because we were Janet's parents and we were not Isabella's grandparents. And It was like someone just hit me in the stomach.
I've got a lot of friends. You know, they want to be supportive, but they'll just look at me and say, I can't even imagine what it's like for you and how you just live day in and day out, knowing there's nothing you can do right now. And I know for me, it is very emotionally painful, and I try not to visit that place very often, certainly not, under anyone's vision. But I have a lot of memories.
As a lawyer, I always have to tell my client, everything may be great now, but we've got to think about what happens when the worst happens. For gay and lesbian couples, even in Massachusetts, even in Vermont, my good advice would be, don't take it for granted that your civil union or your marriage license in those states is going to protect you and your parental rights. You should also go through the adoption process.
I certainly hope that the legal establishment gets their stuff together and realizes that they're dealing with people. They're not dealing with cliches and so forth. They're dealing with people, and this baby needs its mommies.
The only thing I can hope and pray for is that the laws change to protect both parents. Because the innocent child that's born into these unions needs to be protected and needs both parents. Isabella.
I want as much time with my daughter as I can have. And that's all it's been about for me from the very beginning. Is I just want to continue to mother my daughter. Nothing more. Nothing less. Certainly nothing less.
My version of my conception is that my mother had probably delivered a lot of babies and was kind of ready to have her own, and that biological clock was just ticking away. So she and her partner decided that she was going to have a baby.
I asked two friends who lived across the hall from me who were beautiful lesbians who worked in the fashion industry, and I figured, who else will know a gay man? And I said to them, I want a gay man, I want someone who doesn't want to be a parent, and I want somebody who's small because I don't want to have a cesarean section.
They did know someone that one of them had gone to college with, and over a couple of, I'm sure, spaghetti and meatball dinners, the topic came up.
We sort of courted each other for about 5 or 6 months. We talked, we met. We kind of set out the rules.
They got to know each other, and now, obviously, he's not a friend of a friend anymore. He's my father and a friend of my mother's, so that's how my father came to be.
It wasn't long ago that gay male couples often had a tough time finding surrogates willing to go the distance for two dads. But over the past couple of years, there's a striking phenomenon. Female surrogates who actively choose to help gay men have children are on the increase. Tonight, we feature excerpts from a documentary, Paternal Instinct, that reveal the extraordinary and unpredictable journey of one such couple and a surrogate. For filmmaker Murray Nossel, it also becomes a 7-year journey of self-discovery.
This is a film about people who dare to dream up and create their own family.
You know, Mark and I had gotten to the point where, you know, we'd been together for 10 years and we had a great life. But I always felt like there was, you know, there's another chapter in life coming. There's something else we can be doing with our lives. And I think, you know, in the last year or so, we've really come to the point where we're ready for the next thing. You know, what's our project going to be for our life?
I grew up in South Africa under apartheid, and obviously an extremely oppressive and repressive political climate. As a gay kid growing up in that country, I couldn't even imagine having children. It wasn't even in the realms of my imagination. So the opportunity to actually follow a couple in their quest to have a child was, you know, was this chance that I now had to see this with my own eyes. Mark and Eric were acquaintances of mine. They had an annual Halloween party that I was always invited to, and they were always a great deal of fun. They lived in an apartment on the Upper West Side, and they had a big terrace, and they invited lots of people to dress up for Halloween. So I always liked Mark and Eric, you know. They were fun, and they were handsome, and I liked hanging out at their parties. One year, at their Halloween party, they say to me, you know, they were thinking of having kids. And I said, you're doing what? They said, we're going to have kids. And I said, well, I'm making a film about it then. It was just as simple as that. I just knew I had to. I've got to admit that 7 years ago, when I first started making this film, I wondered whether it was a good idea. I thought, you know, maybe gay men shouldn't be having children. I thought to myself, don't children need a mother?
Did it come? Yeah. Yeah, it's here.
Mark and Eric searched the internet to find a surrogate mother to help them have a child.
Seems nice, huh? She looks like Heather.
One of the applicants is a woman named Wen, who lives with her husband and teenage son in Maine.
Wen felt very strongly about having a baby for a gay couple because she felt that gay men were not able to have their own biological children.
I'm so scared. Wen?
Hi, Wen.
It's Eric and Mark.
Hi.
It is great to hear your voice. I'm sort of bathing in it. Well, can I ask you the first hard question? Will you have two? Oh. That's so great. Okay, that's awesome. I think the way we've thought about it is, and I don't know if it's apparent to you, is that Mark would go first with the first child.
Oh no.
It was heavily negotiated, as everything is in our relationship.
It was definitely a process, you know. Right, exactly.
It was a leap of faith because for a long time it was me that was driving it. You know, I was really the one who wanted to make sure that happen, and Mark was nervous about being left out in the cold with me having this incredible relationship with a child and him not being involved. So to help him buy in, we sort of said, okay, well, we'll do the first one, your child, so it'll be your genes. You won't be completely shut out of this relationship.
It's really, I mean, we'll talk about this, I'm sure, over, you know, the course of our relationship, and
we obviously need to meet each other, I think.
Well, that's a requirement.
Good.
Good. Okay.
Take it easy.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Wow.
And the cameras were there when they met Wen for the first time. So that very moment of these three people meeting one another is captured on film.
That can be her. Nope. Can't get enough of your love, baby. When?
That looks like her.
Hi.
Good to see you.
Hi.
Mark and Eric, right?
Yeah. Nice to meet you.
I know we are.
Here's the.
Okay.
They were very excited to be talking to this woman who was going to be the mother, potentially, of their child.
Now we have the.
That was not like a negotiation. We're not on like opposite sides of the table or something like that. Yeah. Well, it's so great to meet you in person.
It is wonderful to finally put a face and a body and a soul to the voice.
Yeah. I was not at all nervous until we drove here this morning. I was like, oh my God, I'm meeting the mom. Because I said in my first communication to my mother, we had found a surrogate.
Mark, Eric, and Wen eventually agreed to begin the surrogacy process together.
So Wen decided to do the inseminations in New York at Mark and Eric's home. And these were very exciting for all concerned. I mean, who's ever been to an insemination ritual before?
Nice and warm though, right?
Oh, that's good.
I figured, well, you know, once they found the surrogate mother, 9 months, we'll have a baby. You know, a year later, at most, we'll have a film. I didn't realize that it takes a lot longer than 9 months to have a baby. But then there were problems. You know, there were problems getting pregnant, and there were certainly strained relationships among Mark, Eric, and Wen.
It took numerous attempts for Wen to become pregnant. Several months into the pregnancy, Wen had a miscarriage.
That was sad.
Maybe this is designed not to have children at all. And maybe we should just be relieved that we're not going to have, 3 o'clock in the morning feedings and stuff like that. But as soon as we actually got back to the States and I got back with my friends who have kids, and, it immediately came back that this is just what I want to do. I suppose I could just become the most doting uncle ever and insert myself into all my friends' kids' lives or something like that. But, I want to have all those feelings of a parent and being a parent. Have that child.
Wen has proven to them that she's absolutely the right person to be the mother of their children. So they are now devastated at the idea that they may have to try and look for somebody else, because they're committed to her just as she's committed to them.
Over a year now past first meeting Mark and Eric, and 9 months after the miscarriage. Physically it should be happening, but it's not. So we're getting some answers as to why we might not be getting pregnant. Nobody is holding a gun to my head. Nothing's holding me to this process. I don't think I could walk away. I'm emotionally invested in this. If we don't get pregnant this month, it's going to be really hard. It will be more than devastating. It's almost like I can't even think about it.
That's the thing. They all three are very committed to doing this. They've got a very strong intention of making this happen in the world.
Oh. And this is the perfect place where you see that the little...
Oh, no!
Oh, please.
Little girl!
Wen wants to see how far she can push herself, to see what she can do. And of course, she knew it was going to be very painful for her to give away babies that she had carried. But she was doing it for a purpose that was bigger than herself.
Good morning, my name is Wen, and those of you who were here last week heard that I was pregnant and that I'm a surrogate mother. And this week I brought the fathers. I'd like to introduce the congregation to Mark and to Eric. Mark and Eric. We're expecting in October.
Labor stopping, the whole process sort of stopping and losing control. Letting go, not letting go. Wanting to have things just progress the way they're supposed to progress rather than have them stop and start and stop and start.
How are you? Not yet. We're walking around Portland. We're waiting for the baby. Cecilia's like taking her own sweet time.
You've been waiting in Maine for 10 days for this baby to be born, and nothing. In the meantime, the bonds among Wen and Mark and Eric are just becoming tighter and tighter. As they're all waiting for this baby to be born, they just galvanize into this powerful force. You know, they're all just preparing Wen for that moment of giving birth. And that's when you really see this new family coming together. I mean, I get goosebumps just thinking about it now. When the baby was born, I became present to the miracle of life. And I suddenly became very worried about Wen. I thought, how is she going to do this? She's been carrying this baby in her body for 9 months. It's all been theoretical. How's it going to be for her?
You're going to break many hearts.
And at the same time, I was really excited to see what it was going to be like for Mark and Eric. The reason that I made the film in the first place was to be able to imagine a gay man holding a newborn infant. I now see family in a completely different way. Family is really a collection of human beings who love one another and who choose to live together in a particular kind of way.
I'm back, but not forever. I'll see you again.
Yes, you will.
Yes, I will. And you'll be a totally different person.
And the courage that it takes to have a child in a hostile political environment, in a country where you're being told you can't get married, you can't have children. These two human beings decided they were going to do that nonetheless. It's an act of tremendous courage.
Will I be pretty? Will I be rich? Here's what she said.
I'm Rosie O'Donnell. For all of us here at In the Life, thank you for watching, and we'll see you next month.
You bring You bring me to my knees, my friend. You bring me to my knees. You bring me to my knees, my friend. You bring me to my knees. I hear the thunder crashing, the river roll, when nothing left at all, at all. No swift recover, no more deny. No justice, just mean until we die, we die, we die, we die.
In the Life is funded in part by the H. Van Ameringen Foundation. Additional support provided by the Ford Foundation, the Pride Foundation, the Ted Snowden Foundation, Michael A. Lepin, and these funders. And the annual support of In the Life members like you.